Some of the teachers I've had and some of the people I've worked with have really helped me look into the spaces that it's been hard for me to do on my own.
Yeah, because sometimes if we don't know that that could be a safe space for us to go to or a safe thing for us to employ, we might be afraid of it. We might not know,
Yeah.
right?
Or we
It,
never had a good role model either.
exactly. Exactly, because models are so important. Models are so important for humans because when we see someone else doing what we previously were told we couldn't or shouldn't, suddenly that gives us permission. It gives us permission to go, oh, well, she's doing it successfully and it actually worked for her. Why not me? It reminds me, it's sort of like demystifying the body in a lot of, it reminds me of someone I'm very close to, and she is a very emotionally focused person. And her body cries a lot, not necessarily because she's sad or upset. It's just that's how her body resets. The nervous system is by releasing the tears and going through the process of crying. For years, that freaked me out when I would see them crying just for, oh my God, what's wrong? What's wrong? She said, nothing. This is just like, this is my version of sneezing. This is how my body is, expelling things from the body that it doesn't need. And once I understood that, now it wasn't scary anymore. But from my perspective, as someone who doesn't necessarily like to swim in those emotional waters, especially early on in my life, that was a place of like, oh my God, what's wrong?
Yeah. And I don't know how your friend came to that space of accepting her tears as part of her natural process.
Yeah.
Maybe she had good role models in her, people who were bringing her up, or maybe she had another healer that was mirroring back to her that this process is very natural and is something that you can accept. Because society probably would have told her, "Oh no, don't cry. It's okay. It's you're making everyone else sad." So as people are walking through their own natural processes, I just want to add that you might come across that your body operates in a way that's different from others. And your body's needs may be different from the next person's. And as a sovereign healer of this own vessel, keeper of your own temple, it's up to you to defend those needs. Just because they aren't what's happening around you doesn't mean that the body doesn't need it.
Right. So I think it's important to your point that yes, take in new information, maybe adopt some new practices or try, and give yourself the time. But ultimately, if it doesn't work for you, that doesn't mean that something's wrong. It just doesn't work for you.
Yeah. And as someone who's sensitive, I have to regulate my nervous system. So the exposure that my nervous system has to stimulation. And in the modern world, there's a lot of stimulation. So it might look to people like I'm choosing not to participate in very social activities, or I'm only participating in short amounts. But I've recognized over time that if I don't do that, there are consequences. So I'd much rather have a healthy and happy body and healthy and happy mind than to please someone else or please society.
Yes. It reminds me of last summer, I was staying with my parents, my mom and my stepdad. And there was one day my body was just saying, I just want to like lay down and just be. So I went into the room where I was staying and just laid on the bed and looked at the ceiling. My mom came, she said, what are you doing? I said, I'm just here laying relaxed. She goes, I was like, I'm very busy. It might not look like it, but there's a lot going on. I'm very busy. And we laughed about it and she was fine. But in that moment, it was really honestly true. I was like, there's a lot happening internally right now. And that's why my body has said, can we just please be immobile for a minute? Because I have a lot of emails to catch up on. I have
Yes.
a lot of things I need to organize and categorize. So I love that. I love that, Shannon, that it's like giving people permission to stand up for what they need.
Yeah.
Because it may not make sense to anybody else, but it doesn't have to. It's not their path, it's yours. And that's what I say is ultimately, at the end of the day, the only person that has to be okay with your choices and decisions is you. Now, I get it. If you have a family, loved ones, people who rely on you, you may want to include them in the conversation. But ultimately, you're the one that has to live in the body. You're the one that has to look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the day. You're the one that reaps the rewards or the difficulties from not listening to your body and giving it what it wants. So ultimately, it needs to be something that works for you if you're going to create space for healing. That's a good one.
I like it.
Is there anything else that you want to offer people in terms of how to create space for change, or you feel like we've touched on enough for them today?
I think that's a nice bite-sized chunk for today.
Decide you're ready for change. find the information, start to observe and give yourself at least a little bit of data or just watch. And as you open up that internal space and realize that there's a whole lot of you in there that's excited and happy to connect with you, remember you're the teacher and they're just your beautiful little students. And just because they have their arm raised and going, ooh, 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 me, 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 me. I hear you, baby, but this is not what we're doing. I want to hear the quiet voices today.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shannon.
Bless the quiet ones.
Yes, bless the quiet ones. What is the meek shall inherit the earth? We
Yeah.
do need that quiet, still self, because that's how we access the true self, right? If I'm always stimulated, then I'm just in survival mode. And we were built to do way more than survive. Survive is a momentary thing where we need it for that very specific purpose. And you said something really, really beautiful earlier. If we have the time to stop and consider whether or not we're at risk, we're probably not.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if it's a real actual threat, I'm not going to be saying, oh, that big scary looking animal that's running directly at me with its fangs dripping, like, is that? No, you don't. If that's the case, you're not going to sit and ask. And in that sense, you will listen to the body because the body will say, get the hell up and run.
Yeah. There will be no thinking involved there.
Yes. So in that sense, we want the autonomic response. We want the unconscious choice because that's what saves us. But we're not living in a cave fighting saber-toothed tigers anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it's so rare that that system is appropriately activated. And just be aware that a lot of our systems and attention seeking experiences are activating that system. As a sovereign, you can choose. Do I want that system to be activated right now? Or do I want to go into a healing mode, a receptive mode?
Yeah, and to heal is to be receptive.
Yeah, for sure.
How the system works. So if you're finding it hard to quiet and calm and center, consider not consuming content. Put the phone down, go for a walk without your phone. Like that might be a revolutionary thing to physically leave your phone at home for 15 to 20 minutes and just see what happens. I promise you're
Yeah.
going to be fine.
Yeah.
Well, thank you,
That should
Dr.
be the homework for this week.
Yes, yes, the homework this week, that's a good one, is to give yourself specific chunks of time. Start with 5 minutes if that's all you can do. Walk around the block without it if that's all you can do. But to give yourself a space where you can see, what is it like if I don't have chocolate? What is it like if I don't have my phone? What is it like if I sit and journal for 20 minutes before I open my computer or activate my device and just see what happens?
Yeah. See what voices come up.
Yes, because there will be voices. That much I can promise.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Maybe that's the name of my autobiography. There will be voices.
Ooh, I like that.
We'll see. I'll add it to the list. I have a million of them. Well, thank you, Dr. Shannon. As always, I love these conversations.
Me too. Thank you, Amar.
Yeah, and thanks to everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time.